Okay, welcome to my talk, Up for Human and Not Machine. In this talk, we will discuss about the accessibility option that help the user to use your application. You have already heard about the inclusivity design in the last talk. Now we can start. Before we start, something about me. Just a moment. Okay. I'm Carlo. I'm a human. I hope that all of us are human, and I like to share my experience with you because the most important things for a developer is not only to do great code, but also to share their experience. Because sharing, we can expand our horizons and develop better skills. Okay, before we start, since the talk is only for humans, I need to check if there is any robots here. So I used a special version of a CAPTCHA. I called it Droid CAPTCHA, since we are at the Droidcon. So in a few seconds, 2 words will appear. I need you to yell the word so I can check if there is any robot in the sala, in the room. Okay, are you ready? Okay. All robots, no human. Okay, it's great. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, why we should use accessibility option for our application? We should use the accessibility option because we need the user to navigate our application. We need also to evaluate the impact of our choice when developing with accessibility, and also because we want to be a good developer. Now, we can explore this point. Why we need to help our users to navigate our application? Imagine to be in a busy road with confusing road scenes. You don't know where you can go. You need to travel from a point A to a point B, but if the road scenes is really confusing, you may be ending in point C or somewhere else. If you come in Palermo, you will find a lot of these wrong road scenes, and you can get lost. We don't want our user to get lost in our application. They can wander in it, but we want always to guide them to use our application at the best of their possibility. What impact? What is the impact? Some one of you was some client that is obsessed by percentage of usage, like, no, your application should be for gingerbread. We should be compatible with gingerbread. Anyone? No? You're lucky. Okay. Every time I get a new client, a new customer, I have to do a long talk about, okay, we can do the retrocompatibility with gingerbread, but are you serious? You want to spend more money to have a non-efficient application because 0.2% of users? We lost the point of view here. According to the World Bank, 15% of people have some kind of visual or other disabilities that render difficult to use the application. For example, if someone is colorblind, maybe use colors to interact with your application, it's not a great choice. Also, if someone has a slight vision impairment, you can find the text can be tricky to read. But Android helps us in with this problem with using the SP instead of DP. We can see it later. Basically, almost 1 on 6 people can be affected by our bad decision while writing our application. So its responsibility to take account of those people when we want to develop, because we cannot stay with the conviction that 1% of the user with all the phones is more important than 15% of populations. Who wants to be a good developer? The most important things why we would choose to do an application thinking about the accessibility option is because we want to be a good developer. A product can be a valid product, but we don't have to stop there. We should improve our code, our products, because we want to be not just a developer, but a good developer. Okay, let's see. How can we improve the accessibility? Android offers a great choice of option to improve the accessibility. Let's explore them. One of these is the layout and the contrasts, because if we choose a bad layout, this will affect the users. Also, meaningful interaction. We can't rely in some interaction that is guided only by color, for example. And talkback. Talkback is the way a blind user sees our application. We need to implement some little correction to our application. It takes just a little effort to be efficient and be compatible with talkback. We will see in a moment. Okay. We can have 3 types of layout: the good layout, the bad layout, and the ugly layout. The good layout is basically what an application should look: clear contrast, visible text, big buttons, and so on. Or we can have a really bad layout. Also use that because this is bad. Text is not visible, button is really small, and so on. And then the ugly layout. Maybe the elements in the ugly layout is okay. The text is at the right size, the button is fine, but the title is invisible, white on yellow, no contrast. Also the text, black on gray. Maybe you can read it fine, but not everyone can read it fine. The buttons should be at least 48 dp for the touch area. It's not important that the graphic element is smaller. For example, we can have a button with a touch area of 48 dp, but an inside area of 24. This is really important because cram too many buttons in a small area can lead to misclick, mistap, or render the button impossible to touch. Then we are helped by Android Studio because we tend to ignore the most warning we see. Every time we see warning like, okay, you are misspelled this variable. Maybe you wanted to call in another way. No, I wanted to call it in that way. But some of these annoying warning, we should really be listened. For example, how many of you have seen this warning? Because when we deliver an application, the graphic designer told us your title should be this big. No, the title should be this big and a normal resolution. Because if my user, in their preference, told me that I have to use a bigger font size for the text, because my user has some kind of impairment, I should honor his choice. The difference is clear, because in blue, you see the layout in normal and bigger font size using SP. So, if a user chooses to see bigger text, he should see bigger text. If we use DP, the text will remain the same. So when we are writing our code, we should account this. So the text should be always flowing and not be stored in strict containers. Also, another silly warning is this. You should use start, not left, or and not right. Everyone has seen this warning too? Because we are used to see the application in this way. We have the back button on the left side, the icons on the left side, but if you change a point of view, some of users, for example, Arabic countries, see the application in the opposite way. So if we use, for example, gravity left for the icons, in the left to right layout, it's okay. In the right to left, we leave the icon next to the text, because we have used left instead of start. Start is the gravity should be where the user starts to read. So left to right or top to bottom. Contrast is also most important thing when designing, because a bad contrast can render our application difficult to read. For example, check the Earth icons. With a good contrast, you can see the Earth on a dark background and on a bright background. With poor contrast, the icon becomes almost invisible. Okay. The interaction is a tricky part, because now you will see an ugly layout. It's it's made by purpose, because I want to show you. This operation will destroy your smartphone. Tap on green to continue. Who wants to press the green button? I think nobody. Okay. And if you are colorblind, which button you will press? The left one or the right one? You don't know. So we can rely on color, for example, for interaction. We should use other visual cue. For example, an icon. Also, the text should respect this, because we can't rely on color. So tap the accept button to continue. Everyone knows what is the accept button and the cancel button. This way, even if we remove the color information, the application is still comprehensible. Talkback. Talkback, who of you ever tried Talkback on your phone? Did you manage to exit the Talkback mode? Okay, with some difficulty. Imagine a blind person using your smartphone. You don't see your layout. How can you navigate the application? Talkback is the most important accessibility service that you can find on your phone. It takes a little effort to be compatible with Talkback. We just need some steps to correct this behavior, so a blind user can navigate your application with great ease. Basically, when you activate Talkback, the smartphone changes completely the interaction mode. You can't tap directly on an item because you don't see it. You continue to see the layout because it's useful for a not blind person to help to interact. But instead of interacting the normal way, we have two principal ways to interact. One is explore by touch. In explore by touch mode, you drag your finger around. Every time your finger hovers on an item, the talkback will read the item name. So, in this example, you will hear a sequence of item 1, item 2, item 3, item 2, and so on. This way, a blind person can navigate your application knowing what is going on the screen. Another way is swipe to explore. It's similar to the first one, but when you swipe left or right, you pass to the next element. It can be on a vertical list, on a horizontal list. It's not important. The next focusable element will be selected and read louder. And how I tap to select something? For example, I need to select the item 7. How can I do it? If I tap, it won't work because the tap is for exploring with the touch. When I go to the element of my interest, the only thing I have to do is double tap on the screen. It's not important where. Just double tap on the screen. This way, the item will be selected, the button will be tapped, and so on. How can we help the user to understand that? Do you see something wrong in this XML? What? If we write this code, we will get another warning. Missing content description. I'm pretty sure that every image view in our code has at least one warning of this type. The content description is what the talkback read. For the button is the text of the button. For the image view, we don't have a text, so we have to implement it. The text view will read the value of text or the text shown in that moment. But for the images, we should implement it. Obviously, we can implement it for meaningful image view. If you have a photo of a dog, you can write it. But for dynamically images, you can think about something like the alt parameter in HTML. Okay. So, to get rid of this warning, we should add the content description. So, our image view that represents a delete icon. This way, when the user exploring find the icon, it should read delete. Also, we want our talkback to be efficient. For example, the first row. If you don't pay attention in how we construct the layout, we can end up with something like that. A linear layout with two text view. It's okay. The talkback will read the first row. I will swipe the second row. It's okay, but it's not efficient because we want all the rows to be read at once. How we can do it? Just adding the focusable to the parent layout. When we have a focusable layout, the talkback will read that row, that element in a succession. For example, this way, the talkback won't pause for the user fingerprint and unlock with your fingerprint. So the blind user don't have to do a double swipe to pass to the next element. I want to invite you to test by yourself, just maybe not now, because you need to be in a silent environment, because if you want to be able to exit the talkback mode, I strongly suggest you to listen to the instruction, because it's really a different way to navigate the application. So, when you have some time, just for your curiosity and to see if your application is usable by a blind person, just test it. It's really fun to discover how our application is really unusable without some simple implementations. Okay. Any question? I don't see there? Okay. I ask you to leave a little feedback if you want. This way I can improve my talks and I can take more content to you. Thank you. You can find the slides at that address. Thank you.